Mims is a personal branding photographer and business coach who helps women be seen and build powerful personal brands. After experiencing burnout in her own photography business, Fee realized that success without a strong personal brand has limits. That turning point led her to refine her niche, elevate her positioning, and grow her business while working fewer hours before stepping into coaching. Today, through her Shine Bright Mastermind, she helps women 40 plus step into their authority and build more profitable, sustainable, service-based businesses. Known for her warm, grounded approach, she combines strategic insight with over 20 years of real-world experience to help women go from invisible to in demand. So, Faye, your work obviously is around visibility. And I say obviously because I will have just gone through your bio. What does that actually mean to you? Because especially in 2026, I think that word's getting thrown around so much, but people think about it in so many different ways. Like when you think about visibility in terms of your clients, what are you actually thinking about?
I'm actually going to answer that by firstly saying what my clients or my audience thinks visibility is when I mention it. And it immediately, their head just goes to, oh my gosh, I have to show up on video on social media.
Yeah.
It's like the worst case scenario.
It's like the one thing they think of, just video on socials.
Which is the worst, right?
Yes.
If you haven't been doing that or if you're not comfortable there. So I always have a bit of a laugh about that because, yes, that's where our heads will often go. I think about visibility. I mean, you can think of it in a singular sense as just showing up and showing your face. And that's absolutely one definition of visibility. But I like to think of it as broad and deep. So broadly speaking, and from a business perspective, any way you show up anywhere is visibility. So yes, that's on video, on socials, but it's also in images on socials. It's in the DMs, that's visibility. It's podcasting like this. It's sending out your newsletters. I feel like it's anything where you are showing up so that you are connecting with your audience and they're getting a sense of your presence and who you are, which doesn't always have to be visual, although obviously it feels like, in I suppose the biggest sense of the word, it's visual. It can be, but and there's different layers of visibility, right? And so yes, showing up on video, I do say to people like that is probably one of the best types because they get all of you. They get your voice, they get your visual, but also a feel for your personality because they get that depth as well, as opposed to just sharing an image or writing a quick caption or something. So there's many forms and depths of it, I believe.
I love that. The word that came to mind when you were speaking was like, it's omnipresence. Like it's just being like present in so many ways so that you're the person they think of when they're thinking about working with you. And you mentioned before, like the video and socials piece, but overall, like so you work with women 40 plus. People listening to this podcast like vary, but there's a lot of people in the like millennial Gen X camp. And when I think about us, because I'm millennial, I often get confused, but I am millennial. Like I always think we're kind of in this interesting spot where we didn't grow up with the internet. The internet came in, then socials came in. It's always so weird when you talk about this because I'm like, I don't want to sound like that old, like it makes you sound older, but ultimately you've gone through all those stages. And it means that we know how to do like traditional comms so well, but we've had to really learn how to be visible online in different ways. And so what do you find are the biggest challenges for your women who are, 40 plus?
Yes, there are many challenges, some bigger than others. I think, like you just said, one of the major ones is that we haven't grown up with social media. So we find we're still a bit awkward with it in that we love it, but we're not 100% comfortable with it. We still like to be the voyeurs rather than the people that are on the soapboxes or, having the spotlight on them. I think also as a mum who's got 16-year-old kids, we're trying to tell our kids that social media, too much of social media is not great as well. So we have conflicting ideas in our head. It's okay for business, but we don't want you on it too much, There's that comes to mind. The other huge one is that we are just juggling so much in life. That it is difficult to devote the time and the energy to it. That is probably one of the biggest ones. And We like to be more intentional about things as well. So I think just jumping on and smashing something out quickly. I know with a lot of the women I work with, they overthink their socials. So a
Yes.
lot of the time it's just trying to get them to spend less than an hour on a post because they're so thoughtful and they want it to be right and to tick all the boxes when sometimes it's just about showing up. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's an issue. I'm sure there's more as well in my head.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. And I want to like pick into the time piece because it's just like, it's such an interesting thing that, of course, in 2026, we're going to be talking about visibility and time in the same sentence. What are the quick wins there? Like, how do you navigate those conversations around time? And I know for you as well, you're in that season of life, like teenage kids, aging parents, like the responsibilities are big and vast.
Mm.
And you also have, like, you have so much visibility. You're so good at it. You're so consistent. You're so present. Like, what are just some of the hacks that you're using?
Mm.
And how do you just kind of cut through the bullshit to
Mm.
actually make it happen?
Yeah. So just to speak about consistency for a second, one thing is telling my clients that consistency doesn't mean showing up 4 times every week.
Yeah.
It just means showing up regularly and not
Yes.
having those long breaks. I had a period where I outsourced my socials for 3 years and I've never been as consistent in my life.
Yes.
I haven't been as consistent before then and I haven't been as consistent since then, but I regularly show up. Some
Yes.
weeks now it's 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes if I'm really busy, it's twice a week. And I'm talking sort of Instagram here. That's my main platform. And I give myself that grace. And also, because as you just said, when I talk to people, they're like, oh, you're doing so much. You're so busy. So even if you're kicking yourself a little bit because, oh my gosh, I only posted twice this week, well, that's still consistent. You're still showing up every week. So give yourself that grace. So I tell them just not to be so hard because sometimes they're like, I'm going to show up 5 times a week. And I'm like,
Yep.
that's not a good place to be.
Yep.
So that's one thing. The other is if I'm working with someone who is fairly new to social media, and some of my women are, they're still in those first early years of business where they've been shying away from it. They have to remember that it's going to get easier. So it's not so
Yeah.
much a hack, but it's maybe a mindset hack. It may take an hour for a post in the beginning, but if you consistently do the work, it is going to get so much easier.
Yes.
And you get to the point where you do trust yourself more, your content comes quicker, you've got your templates on the ready, you've got your content bank there to feed into quickly. So it does get easier. And of course there is AI, and I talk about using AI with them a lot from a brain dumping perspective. Like just dump your ideas into it and get it to feed something back to you that you can then quickly refine, or obviously spending a good chunk of time in there to get your content pillars, your ideas, like your results, what you can speak to, your messaging, really utilize that. But I think still it can often take some time to
Yes.
find the system that works for you.
Yes. And so you essentially teach, though, a visibility system, right? And that's what I think works well for your clients. Like, you're very much like, the way that you're going to do this is through a system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and do you find when your clients come to you, they don't have that system in place at all? And that's the thing that can really help them?
Yeah, I sort of get two types of clients. One is I get the ones that, they have no system at all. So we sort of build that into it for them, and they come in and they're quite scattered because they don't
Yeah.
have those systems, but they're all really good at what they do, right? So they just need the systems and the strategies to build into their week so that they can show up in a better way for themselves and for their clients. And then I will also have women who have been in business for longer and they do have systems, but the systems aren't necessarily working from them in the sense of they might be sharing a lot of content and showing up, but not in a way that is backing their expertise enough and inviting
Yes.
people in to work with them. So it's
Yes.
about, just changing their messaging a little bit and also encouraging them to sell in a way that has integrity. And I find that is, I know selling's not visibility, but that's a big part of what I work with the women on, because
Yes.
it's one thing to be visible, but if you're not actually, you're the master of this, right? If you're not actually inviting people in so you can serve them and work with them, your visibility isn't getting you anywhere.
Yes. Okay. So off the back of that, what's like one visibility power move that you're seeing is really working for your people right now?
Well, I think the ones that are getting traction are the ones that are building deeper relationships either within the platform, or the other thing I see that's really working is making sure they're off the platform and also, as much as possible, trying to be in the room with people.
Yes.
So one of my clients who is exceptional on social media and showing up and reels and videos, she held her first ever in-person workshop last month
Yes.
with almost 100 women in the room, and
You.
she sold off the back of that. So
Yes.
that was amazing for her. And, she was so nervous, but she did brilliantly. And of course, now she's like, right, I'm going to do that every year
Yep.
now. And we know that it's very much about connection.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's particularly for women 40 plus, but I think that's particularly something we can be very good at
Yes.
because of that life experience and maturity and knowing our people. So I think, if you can get in the room with people and create that depth to your visibility,
Yes.
you've got much more chance of converting.
I love that, because when I hear you speak to that, it's the way I think about it is it's like attention is your feed. Attention is, really what you're putting out there. You're competing with all these other people, but actually when it comes to the sale, it is, as you said, that connection, whether that connection is on the platform. So DM conversations, nurturing people repeatedly there, or in-person connection, building the opportunity to really have those one-to-one conversations. And especially, if you're selling high ticket, like you're selling a mastermind, people spend so much time in lead generation and front end attraction. And, sometimes I want to say, like, this gets to be so much easier if you just spend a little bit more time in that, like if we're looking at it as a funnel, in that bottom of funnel phase, like actually really seeing someone in front of them, like recognizing them, having those one-to-one conversations, as you say, like really seeing them in their unique challenges. And as you were speaking, it got me thinking as well about how I'm like, I wonder whether, millennial and Gen X women, it's like whether we also want to be seen more in our unique, bespoke challenges. And I don't even know, as I'm saying that, why that would be. But I feel like there's an element of, actually, I do know. It's because you're in this season where we're doing so much for everyone else. It's like, see me in what I need.
Yeah, I think so. And if I can just go back to that depth of connection for a second, a lot of the women I work with, they are sharing a lot of content, but because of that time poor season of their life, they're not taking the time out to have the conversations behind the scene, whether it's in the DMs or getting into rooms. And they do come to me and they say, why is it even worth doing this work?
Yes.
And I believe that right now, I don't know if you're experiencing this, but I feel like there is such a drop off in engagement on social media. And I'm saying that to them. I'm like, look, even from my perspective, it's not there, but as long as you're showing up, you're sharing yourself, you're being authentic, you've got your messaging right, you have to trust that people are still seeing you and listening to you. But you also then, as we were just saying, you have to go deeper behind the scenes and really solidify that connection with them.
Totally. I mean, in 2026, like the strategies are shifting so much. It's like, paid is no longer optional, right? When it comes to getting in front of the right people. And as you say, actually being in the sales process with people, because I can't remember what the exact percentage is at the moment, but the percentage across attention has dropped. Like, I think it's something like 8% in the last 12 months, which is wild. So, yes, totally agree on that. What do you think then? Like, if they are saying, is this worth my time? Like, where are they spending time that really isn't, like, they should just cut it? Like, where is that? You said before, sometimes it's an hour to write a post. Like, is it in the practical? Is it in the overthinking?
I mean, probably a bit of all of the above.
Yeah.
I think setting some real boundaries around their time. I mean, one of the things, even though my main areas where I work with my clients is around personal branding and visibility, we also work with them on their systems because
Totally.
they haven't, not everyone, but some of them haven't got great systems in the background. So they're just fighting to still do everything themselves.
Yes.
And look, some of the women at the level I'm working with, they are probably in that slightly more, that area where they do still worry a lot about the money coming in.
Yes.
So it's really hard to get them to back themselves and to
Yes.
invest in themselves. So we do a lot of work there as well. So, you're spending all this time like just working on your admin and, getting stuff sorted in the background across all these different spreadsheets and things.
Yep.
Like, let's just get you into an easier system so that you can spend time on things that matter.
Yes.
So also, like you just said, like just not spending just hours on your posts, but actually developing the strategies, the sales strategies that are inviting people in. They are very good at sharing helpful content and sharing content, but there is a little bit of resistance as well, I find, around selling themselves. And
Yes.
I think again that's a generational thing where we were just brought up to be really nice, really helpful, and I am like that myself. I think we all are. And I could say even generally that women are like that, right?
Yeah.
We just want to be helpful. So, there's often a bit of friction, not with everyone, but with some of them that, that selling just still feels awkward. And it's like,
Yes.
you have to do this not just for yourself, but for your clients.
Yep.
You've heard it all
100%.
before.
Well, I just, it's, I just know that to be true. And I think that the reason why your approach works so well and the reason why you've got this successful mastermind is because you're speaking to a very specific niche with a very specific problem. And I think the fact that you blend personal brand with systems as almost like, this is the way you make this easier is often the thing that helps them so much because it's like, what's the problem? Oh, having to put myself out there. What's actually the problem? I have no time for this.
Yeah.
The fact that you've got systems to do that, it's like the leverage point of like, no, we can systemize this and it's just going to save you so much time and actually get you out there.
Yeah. And you would know that like visibility even if you're showing up in a great way, you can't retain that if you don't have the ease and the simplicity behind it. Like we just run out of energy and time.
It's, Niv and I were talking about this the other day where we were saying content in particular is really one of the biggest business systems for a personal brand business that there is. And I think the reason why people don't nail consistency of content is simply because they haven't recognized that it's one of the biggest business systems there are. I think that's one of the only reasons. And if you recognize that it is one of the biggest business systems there are, then you're going to treat it with the reverence, the time, the energy to nail that system that it needs.
Yeah.
You're going to think about it in a different way and you're going to go, oh, now this is easy because it's just that big system that needs a lot of like upfront care to then take care of itself.
Yeah. And I know you often speak to just going hard on one platform.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, again, a lot of the women I work with, they don't outsource a lot yet.
Yes.
So you have to do that. And they're still, I think, trying to do too much across the board. And even if they are doing, one platform, but then also newsletters or something else, again, just showing them the systems where that can all blend into one. They're not separate, like you were just saying. But I think they can often hold that belief that it all takes too much time and everything is its own little content system. And no, it's not. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you run a mastermind.
Thanks to you. Let's be clear there. You taught me how. Thank you.
What do you love about that model?
I think when I think about that, there are 3 reasons I love it. One is from the coach perspective, one is from the client perspective, and then there's a personal perspective. The coach perspective is that there's just so much depth in a mastermind model. So I get to work very deeply with my clients. I'm going to try not to cry here because for so many years I wanted to coach alongside my photography. And it just, it wasn't until I joined your mastermind and you showed me the way that I was able to start doing that. And it's just that realization that, I managed to do it and I'm doing it and I'm coaching these women with that depth that I always wanted to and seeing the impacts. It's life-changing, Ellie. So thank you. Okay, tears away. But yeah, so it's that depth for me, but also for them. Because it's I do a 6-month rolling mastermind. So even if they stay in for 6 months, that's a good deal of time to work with someone.
Yes.
Some of them stay in. So you really get that depth where you do see that impact. Also from the client perspective, as I said, they get that depth in their business, but they get that community as well. So they don't feel alone. Because even though it seems silly that we might still feel alone, a lot of people still feel alone in business. They have someone to talk to and to understand that they're on the same journey, same challenges, maybe different stage of that journey, but they're in front or behind each other and learning from each other or inspiring each other. And even just last week, we had one of our group calls, and we were talking to, I was having a conversation with one of my mastermind women about the fact that she's interested in mentoring someone, and we were talking about getting her started there. And then one of the other women on the call was like, I've got a contact for you. And it was like the perfect contact. So, there's that beauty as well.
Yes.
From the personal perspective, this is just a really honest, my life. I have been a photographer for 23 years now, and it still lights me up. It's still one of my happy places, but I'm 52 and your body changes and you need more rest in between. And it is extremely labor intensive. You give so much in every session. And, I photographed a full day event yesterday, and it was, one of my favorite clients to ever photograph, but I was fried at the end of the day. And it always takes it out of you. But 10, 15, 20 years ago, I wasn't that fried. Yep. So I love that this model allows me to still work with my ideal client in a really deep way, alongside that one-to-one service-based business model, without feeling like as I get older, I have to maintain that energy, because I think for women in that 40 plus bracket, and if not 40 plus, it's coming at 50 plus. And I'm a fit, I think I'm actually quite a very fit 52-year-old.
You definitely are.
Yeah, your body only has so many reserves. And yes, we just need to rest and reset in between a lot more than what we used to. So it's really allowed me to continue doing what I love, but with the mastermind alongside it, which for me, it was as much a continuing to do the work I love as it was future planning thing, which I think we need to have more open, honest conversations about that as women in business as well, because we're still sitting here in our 40s and 50s making our business work, but we need to also be thinking about, well, where am I going to be 10 years from now?
Yes. I so agree with you. It's one of the things I love about a mastermind model. So I think a lot about like the different types of businesses. And, if we're coaches, consultants, or mentors running masterminds, we're ultimately choosing to run a business model that is a lifestyle business, in that, we're not building a product where we're like, hey, I'm willing to trade off 5 to 10 years of my life to then sell this baby and make multiple millions. We're going, I'm running a business where I want this business to A, be lifestyle conducive, and B, be profitable now. And especially as you say, like being in your 50s, you're genuinely thinking about that season of life. What comes next? Are you going to retire? When would you retire? What does that look like? And so whatever work you're doing, like profitability is really important, right? And so you look at this mastermind model and it just blows my mind every day, like how profitable this model gets to be, both from a revenue and a time perspective. So I love hearing that, but also, and I think, you were going to get to this as well, what it looks like for clients too, right? Like the fact that it just means that they get to win. Like, have you really, because I know that for me anyway, when I was one-to-one, I remember being like, how could it possibly be better to serve my clients in a mastermind? Like, how is that actually possible? And then you start a mastermind and you're like, oh my gosh, so much better.
Yeah.
Like, what have you found?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I think because you get to work with them on many different levels, and also, I mean, in mine, as in similar to yours, I have a support coach in there with Talia, my online business manager. So you get to bring in that support crew that is really impactful for them as well.
Yes.
So you can be the expert, but still have your crew and your wing women in there as experts as well. But yeah, they get that real vision of what their business can be like from other women in there, and they get to make those changes in their business that's really transformational for them as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so they can see what's possible.
Yes.
And I know one thing I really love about the feedback I've gotten from mine is that they can change, or they can create in 6 months what would have taken them 2 years.
Yes. So good. You're able to just fast track that time for them.
Yes. And that's probably one of my drivers in my mastermind, because I was a photographer for 15 years before I was at that burnout phase where I'm like, something's got to change. And this is
Yes.
even still a few years before, this is pre-COVID. So before I
Yes.
launched the mastermind. And that was when I really stepped into my own personal branding and visibility, which was hilarious because I'd been a personal branding photographer for so many
Always
years.
the way. Yeah.
And that changed everything for me. And I just don't want other women to take 15 years to make
Yeah.
those same realizations. We need to be doing that sooner, faster, and particularly again in this season of our life.
So the last question I'm about to ask you is the visibility strategies that you use to sell your mastermind. And I just feel like we should take a moment to say, like a couple of years ago, you were like, I want to start a mastermind, Ellie. I want to do this. I want this to be my coaching business. I want to do a great job of this. I want women in this experience. Can you believe that you're here? I mean, I know you can.
I
And
can, but
also,
it's also a pinch me moment.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, because you do spend a lot of time in business looking at other women like yourself that you
Mm,
admire and are inspired by. But I think we always have that little inner voice that's like, it's just not you. You haven't got all the boxes ticked, or that's worked for her, but it's not going to work for you. And it's the stories we're brought up with, right?
yes.
Absolutely. I'm not talented enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not thin enough. I haven't had enough experience. I don't know. And, it just goes on and on. So, and I'm saying that because I'm sure everyone can relate to that because that's just often the way women can think. But yeah, it's all possible, which is what you continually um, push on us, not push on us, wrong word, but
I'm here for that.
slightly nudge in your beautiful way when from inside your mastermind. It's you're continually showing us how to build that self-belief, which
Mm,
is, I think, in business better than any strategy, any hack, anything else, right? It has to come
yeah.
from that self-belief. And that is what you showed me most of all and taught me to do for myself, to show up with that self-belief that I could be a coach and that I could build a successful mastermind. I mean, everything you said about what I could be, I've basically, it's come true. So I don't know what magic dust you're sniffing. But yeah, no, it's, you said, a couple of years, Fee, you'll build it, you'll be there. And I think, in terms of visibility, it's having that future vision for yourself and really backing yourself, but also I'm just going to keep harping back to, what I learned
Mm,
from you in your mastermind. It was to continually talk about the client you want to serve,
yeah.
continually talking about their problems so they know you understand them, you see them, you're the right person for them when they're ready to act. It's showing up as authentically you and just really backing yourself and showing up in all the ways that will connect with them and sharing your authority. And that was one of the things for me that I'm sure
Yep.
you remember was quite hard because
Totally.
if it's not something that you've done much of before, I was very confident in my ability as a photographer, but it was like going back and being green again,
Yeah.
going into like, okay, now I'm a coach who's launching a mastermind. But yes, I did have that self-belief, and
Yeah.
that was, often motivated by you and the way you coached me. And that's why it's so good to have those coaches in your corner,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
I hope that answers the
Definitely.
question, but I think I went off on a tangent there. But
I
yeah,
loved it.
just really, you have to back your authority. And I suppose, again, coming back to a lot of the women I work with, they just don't back their expertise enough, and they've got
Yes.
decades of it. They
Boom.
focus on what they don't know rather than what they do know, or they feel like they have to know everything in the room. And I think I'm a perfect example of if I waited, I wouldn't have launched my membership. I wouldn't have launched my mastermind.
Yes.
Um, I wouldn't have backed myself in so many ways.
Yeah, we need more women who are really willing to back themselves even when they're scared
Mm,
because we're all doing it scared in
absolutely.
every season. That never goes away.
Yep.
You photographed me doing a keynote yesterday. I was scared,
Yeah.
the second before I went out there. Like, we're all doing it scared. And I
Absolutely.
just love that. I just got goosebumps before
Yeah.
hearing you speak about the last couple of years. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for being here. I've loved this conversation so
Oh,
much.
thank you for everything you've done for me in my business. I love you. You know that.
I do.